Hello. I think.
Are you melting?
I'm surprisingly not as melty as I usually am, but I think you probably are.
I'm very melty.
You have got all the quilt insulation around you. It keeps your space
like why
super
can't it
cozy.
insulate me? But like, why can't it insulate me? Cool. Sound check, by the way. Yeah, I'm silly, and I didn't turn my AC on like the crack of dawn today, and it's really hot outside. And then like an hour before, it's not bad now, but then like an hour before we streamed, the sun hits this room. Yeah. So, and of course, you know, there's a lot of quilts in here. So,
yeah, it's a shame, you know. I mean, I guess it's once the quilts are fully cooled to their core, which probably takes quite a while, they would be good air conditioning insulators, but
yeah. Luckily this room's not that big, but yes, there is. And I'm on the 3rd floor, and you know, it's muggy outside. My hair, I'm starting to get these little like pig curl things. Look at that thing. Look at that. Look at it. You know, that's how you know it's really humid, by what the back of my hair is doing. But you know, how are others? Who's here? Who's in the chat? I'm jealous if your weather is significantly cooler than ours.
Right? Our California friends, we love them so, but every time they tell us it's like, oh, 70 degrees. Like, ah.
Yeah, with like a breeze.
At least invite us over to hang out and be cool.
Hi, Alicia.
Alicia, hi.
I'm assuming where you are probably isn't very cool. You're probably muggier than we are.
Yeah. Dayton, Virginia, and thereabouts is probably about the same temperature I am. So, yep.
Yeah.
So since Alicia's here, I will call her out and embarrass her. If you are a subscriber to Quilt Folk magazine and you don't have your copy yet, because I think they just went out, I just got mine the other day. Alicia and the museum, the Virginia Quilt Museum, are in the magazine. They have a whole spread, and I have seen great pictures. They took pictures literally like 5 minutes after I visited the museum. Because I'm like, hey, all that stuff was hanging when I was there. So it's a really great piece. And, you know, if you're from Virginia and don't subscribe to Quilt Folk, I still recommend get a copy of it, because it's a really, really great issue. All their issues are great, but, you know, I'm from Virginia, so.
So you're super biased?
I am. And the fact that I know so many people that are in the magazine. So, or, you know, people my mom knows. I think I might have mentioned this. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or if I just only mentioned it on my stream. But, yeah, there's a woman, well, actually 2 women my mom goes to church with that one of them is actually pictured in one of the pictures in one of the articles. And another person.
Oh, yeah, I think you told me that.
Yeah, in another case, she just, because she was just at church on Sunday, she said, oh, and then there's another person she knows who actually worked on a quilt that is pictured. So, I don't know if it was she helped quilt or something, but it was really cool. So. Hey, Janet. 62 but foggy. Oh, yay, you got your copy of Quilt Folk. Awesome.
I will definitely take 62 and foggy over 90 and 700% humidity any day of the week.
At what point do we just say swimming pool? Because, like, I mean, I guess 100% humidity is rain, right? Like, the atmosphere becomes so heavy that it's fog and rain and just liquid, you know. I don't know.
I did joke with Sunday this year, like, could we do that thing that sometimes people do on like farms where they buy those like big like animal trough things and just dig a hole in the ground and then like fill them with water? Because I don't need to swim, I just need to get wet.
I like the misters. The misters are nice. The irrigation misters. I mean, they have them at the zoo.
No, I want to be like submerged, and I can put like ice cubes in it. You know, real fancy. You know, it's worth a try.
Alicia has used the word soggy today. But Janet says her garden is sickly. See, that's the thing. We will give you our sun and rain if we could just have your temperatures. And I don't know why the world can't work like that.
True.
So,
Let us do some
yes,
announcements. So it's July, if you didn't know, and it's hot. And pretty soon it will be rude as well because Stephanie is leaving. She's leaving specifically because she doesn't want to be near us. She's sick of my face.
Yep.
And she has to go to England to get away from it.
Uh-huh.
So, she's going there. But before she goes, our next Stitch and Glitch is on the 26th. Like right before she goes. She's literally going to spend time with us before she says
Adios.
Later. So I wanted to tell you guys that now, even though obviously, like, yes, it's only the 15th and it's still business as usual, but in case you want to stick that on your calendar for 2 p.m. is a Stitch and Glitch. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? I could have boxes that arrive. Who knows? I could have, if you guys were at the last one, I showed you all a piece of furniture I moved in my house, and the drawers stink. And we were talking about, dealing with that. I started with a couple of the suggestions Stephanie gave me. One drawer has baking soda in it, one drawer has coffee grounds. And right now, each of those drawers, one smells like ick and baking soda, and one smells like ick and coffee grounds. So I have just flavored the ick with other things. But anyways, so yeah, there could be updates about that. Who knows? It's all things. But since I'm gonna follow Stephanie's lead here, and because Alicia is with us, I'm gonna embarrass her again. And talk about, if you go to the Virginia Quilt Museum website and you get on their events page, there's lots of cool things going on here, like a quilt evaluation day. But I want to tell you specifically about the quilt history boot camp. It's a whole day long, and you're going to see a million quilts, and you're going to learn everything there is to know here about like dating quilts and quilt history, and basically get like a headlong, head first dive into kind of like what like a seminar would be if you were to go for a week, and she's going to tell you all about that kind of stuff in like a day. So
and
let's see, she's going to do 3 lectures, a quilt turning of 30 quilts, and it's limited to 20 participants, and she's going to feed you guys. So I mean, here's the schedule here. And our friend Mia Clift will also be there.
Yeah. Are you showing something on the screen? Because all I see is our calendar.
You waited that long to tell me that?
Well, no. I mean, I didn't realize that. that
Why?
you were.
Oh, hold on. Somehow my thing got paused. That's weird.
So I have pulled up the website and provided the link to our peoples.
Okay.
So.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, that was weird. Well, as long as you put the link in, thank you very much. Because, yeah, we finally got our linking back. Thanks, YouTube. So here's the schedule. And it's, a whole day of great stuff. But up here are prices. And I'm going to tell you something from the perspective of, like, what you can spend to go on some other things. These prices are very reasonable. I'm just thinking about QuiltCon quilt classes and how expensive like those can get.
Yeah, I would say 150, 175 for several hours, not an all day. So
and they're not going to feed you.
Correct.
That is very important. The minute people are like, I'm feeding you, I'm like, oh well then. If I wasn't having a million things in my life to do this time, I would go there myself for that. But
yeah, I
wanted to put that out there.
When I heard about it, I was like, I'm there. And then I looked at the dates and was like, oh, dang, I'm in England. And Janet asked, yes, I will be going to International Festival of Quilts while I'm in England, but it takes place in Birmingham. And one of our dear friends pointed out to me when I joked about the gin and tonic there, and I mean, I say joked, if they have a gin and tonic booth at Festival of Quilts, you better believe I'm getting a gin and tonic. But she did mention, poorly made gin and tonic can make you feel unwell. And I'm like, yeah. Oh. And the trip to, I had thought that my trip to Festival of Quilts was kind of going to be in the middle of the trip. It's not. It's like on the second day I'm there. So, probably peak jet lag. And I'm going to be going to Festival of Quilts. I'm still having a gin and tonic. I might just sip it. I'm not going to slam it.
Anyway. I'll get this mysterious phone call at this weird hour, since it's 6 hours difference, right? And it's gonna be Stephanie, and I'm just gonna be like, oh my god! I'm like, what's the matter? I'm on the floor in the bathroom at Festival of Quilts. The gin and tonic was back.
Yeah. Hey Arlene, misters and fans. Yep. Homemade AC with a Home Depot bucket and ice and a fan. Yes, ma'am. I'm familiar with that.
So right. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about that quilt boot camp thing, Alicia's always available to answer those to you via email or phone or whatever you want. We always like to help promote our friends.
Yeah.
And by all means, if you do go, let us know about it. Tell us about your experience, and we can tell everybody else about it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we get started on talking, for next week, which is the 22nd, we are going to be reading, believe it or not, tonight's discussion takes us more than halfway. So we're going to be reading chapters 6 and 7, which are pages 132 to 173. I can't believe how fast it goes by so fast.
I know. Well, and it's funny. It's like when you get started, you're kind of flipping through the book going like, oh, so much reading to do. And then all of a sudden you're like, I have read this whole book. I'm always proud of myself. Oh, Janet, that's right. I think you mentioned you're going on a cruise. A friend of mine just came back from an Alaska cruise, and she said it was fantastic. And we've had some family members that did that too. So what fun! Lots of fun summer things.
Janet, whatever you do before you go on that, do not watch the documentary Poop Cruise.
Oh yeah, don't watch Poop Cruise.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I did watch it recently, and I'm like, yep, I worked in the cruise industry for a while. There's a reason why I did land. I was on land. I was not. I wasn't on the cruise. And I'm not.
Yeah,
Stephanie trying to yuck your cruise, but
Stephanie prefers to travel via water buffalo.
Yeah, I'm very claustrophobic, and planes. Oh, so the cabins of ships are a little problematic for me. But yeah, it will be fine. I've heard fantastic things about the Alaska trips. So
I will say, yes, I agree. I've never heard anyone complain about Alaska cruises.
It's those Caribbean ones that you have to look out for.
So let us get, of course, a family member would call while we're streaming. Let us get, where am I here? I can't find my page again. I lost my page. There we go. All right, so let's move along here. Chapter 4. I will say, I do really like Laurie's writing. It's very accessible.
It's very accessible. Yep.
And it's not dry. Sometimes, some of the things you just have to talk about in these chapters in relation to things can be a slog, just because it's just not very interesting information. But generally speaking here, Laurie puts it in a very accessible package.
Yeah, I agree. Janet already saw Poop Cruise, so we're good. Yes, I agree. And honestly, I think many of our friends and people and friends we haven't met yet that have written these books, overwhelmingly, I have enjoyed reading them because they're tackling history and topics that are sometimes, like hard, we're talking about, slavery, or just downright boring. Like when we're talking about things like war and, kind of, the goings on sometimes are not particularly interesting. But I think that
when they get into a little bit of the minutia of like the Industrial Revolution, it's interesting, but also some of it can be a little bit of a snooze fest.
But what I'm saying though is the books that we read and many of our friends who are authors are just, they have such a great way of writing that if my school history books had been like this and had revolved around an interesting topic to me. Now I don't know at the age of 15 if my American history class would have been any better if there were quilts involved. I would probably be like, oh God, something my mother's into. Ugh. But you think about like, improving education for people is like, being engaging and presenting, meeting them where they're at with the information you present, I think that people would be more willing to seek information if they knew that it wasn't going to be hard or boring, So just my observation.
Well, and it's funny, not to like go on like a soapbox here, but again, that really ties into the whole reason that we decided to tackle these books together is because, breaking them down, having smaller discussion that might lead into something else, or maybe, how many times have you or I been like, I don't really know what this thing is, and the other one of us is like, oh, that's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, or so, neither of us knew and we looked it up, or one of our friends told
someone
us,
in the chat knew. Yep. One thing I do want to make sure to point out, kind of like for the historical record here of our stream, and for the point of bringing up snippets of things later, I do like the fact that Lori makes a point to mention that despite a lot of popular opinion, there were slaves in the North as well.
Yeah. And
I find that there is a lot of glossing over of that, like the North were perfect. And
there's two things out of that I just would kind of go on the record to say, and I appreciate the fact that Lori pointed out, just because the region did not, or Maine in general, did not have a lot of slaveholders, doesn't mean that they, the people there weren't engaged in the awful concept of slavery, because they were using slave-grown cotton and etc. As Lori said here. The other thing that, and I don't know if you've heard the statistic, and I don't know the actual numbers, but Rhode Island accepted most of the slave ships, many of the slave ships, and more enslaved people came through Rhode Island than all other states combined.
That is not a statistic I'm familiar with. It's interesting. I wonder who might know more about that is Janet Dionis.
Possibly, yeah. But I can tell you that one of the researchers that we know does some real hardcore research. Lynn Bassett is the one that I heard that from.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, and when I hear a shocking statistic, sometimes I'm like, Lynn, she has found needles in needle stacks, and I think that her research is pretty solid. So.
One thing, just as a little side note about Lynn Bassett, one thing I had a mutual friend had commented about is she's one of those people that likes to comb through diaries. Mm-hmm. And I find that those kinds of people are few and far between, because again, diaries can have a lot of boring stuff in it that
and very difficult handwriting. But
if you're one of those people that likes to comb through the stuff that you can pull out of there.
Yeah,
but that's just a little side note. But yes, that's very interesting. Do you know? Have you come across anyone that's written about that specifically?
I haven't, and I've heard her mention it in a couple of lectures. Just making the point, like, hi Laura, welcome.
Hi Laura.
That she's made that point, like, let's look at the time period from the quote unquote founding of the country up to the Emancipation Proclamation. Let's really look at it. Let's be honest with ourselves that the the Civil War, you know, abolition was certainly a very important component of the Civil War, but you also had abolitionists who were not exactly had clean hands. So, I mean, let's just put it that way. And, I mean, I really, you know, I go back to the fact that it worries me, you know, and I think we've all, like, our community, you know, the quilt history community talks a lot about this, is kind of the loss of some of our history because of policies or people that just will not, you know, they kind of want to make up stories. They want to attach themselves to these romantic stories instead of the stories that are real. You know, I don't, I'm not going to open the can of worms with Underground Railroad quilts, but we all know that it is a major concern. There's lots of different, you know, thoughts about it. And what's really unfortunate is we spend a lot of time trying to prove things that sound so romantic to us and that we want to be true, that we completely overlook the stuff that's, like, actually important to know and that there is documentation for. You know, so, you know, I don't think that rewriting history is all necessarily like this evil conspiracy, but people rewrite history for a lot of reasons. And I think that kind of in our space, it's a lot about romanticization. And, you know, when we really look at the cold hard facts, it's not particularly romantic, but to me, it's more interesting. Because I think it gives like people like this greater facet, like they're more real to us when we know that, you know, there was some.
Well, and I mean, what tends to be the history that's overlooked? Women and minorities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, and that, like you said, like those tend to be the far more interesting stories.
Yeah.
Than yet another, like, pedigreed white guy going to work for dad and making head of the company, you know, like.
Yeah. Or sailing their ships.
Yeah.
Let's not forget She Street from last week.
Yeah. Well, and I was just gonna say, I don't have it here. Maybe you do, but just because Lori has done work with indigenous cultures in Maine, it's just a nice time to mention too that we had read a book dealing with indigenous people Martians, and their quilts. You don't happen to have it right there, do you? I don't have it. Every time we finish books, I put them on my bookshelf that's not by my desk. So I think it's. You're. I was gonna say you're so much more organized than I am. They just end up on the floor next to me in a big pile sometimes.
Some of them do, but no, the books we read here, I tend to archive those. But yeah, it's Marsha McDowell's book that we read, and I'm so bad with titles. I'm awful. It's right here. To honor and comfort.
Yeah. Quilting and traditions. If you're new here and like that's of interest, like always, like we've read lots of books so far. I think we're up to like 15 or something. And if you go back into our live streams, all that stuff is there and you can watch us talk about past books and things like that.
If you have read only a fraction of the books with us, you know, because I know not everybody's like gonna buy all these books, but if you have only read a fraction of the books with us, pat yourself on the back. Oh my God. You know, how many people can say I read, you know, 5, 10, 15 of these type of books? Because, I mean, raise your hand if you get them and drool over the gorgeous pictures and then put them on the shelf. We all do that. So it's pat yourself on the back if you've read any of them, because
I kind of wish Pizza Hut was still around and they still did that book thing where if you like proved that you read so many books in the summer, you got a free pizza.
We should do that though. Would that not be fun, you guys? Like maybe you get a quilt pattern instead of a pizza.
But yeah, you get all your like, stamps.
Yeah, you can have like a big poster and you can write the titles on there. Oh, I loved those summer reading programs. I was that kid.
What a nerd.
I was that kid. I was so nerdy. I was like, I don't care about the pizza. I don't care about the pizza. I'll read.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point, Janet. Actually reading this stuff.
Yeah.
Free printable pattern for reading books.
Yeah. We should think about that. We should definitely.
Hey, girlfriend, you're the one that can design a pattern, not me.
Yeah, and also, like, when I'm done breaking the space-time continuum to add that 8th day in the week so we can get more stuff done.
So, if we turn the page there onto 93, we've seen this quilt before in the book we just read, which was Pam Week's Portable Patchwork. There's quite a bit of overlap. But what I did like is
the detail
here.
pictures to me are
I don't think
so
yeah.
great.
I don't think we got pictures that good in Pam's book of those blocks.
Right. Yeah. This one, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are are so amazing.
Well, and like it's difficult to write on fabric.
It is actually.
Fabric moves.
Yes, and actually, I can tell you, I am writing on a quilt right now. My study quilt is almost it's not really almost done, but I'm in the home stretch, and because I add a lot of text to my quilt, and I have some quotes and things that I want to put on this quilt. So I was preparing my little pieces last night, and the modern technique that my mom actually teaches classes in this. She's getting ready to teach a class soon. And the modern technique is to iron your fabric to freezer paper. Yeah, so it stabilizes it, and then use a light box or something, if you're gonna trace, text or whatever. I always write my text out and then trace it. And I was doing that last night, and like my marker and I was tracing with my pencil. My pencil was like pulling the fabric off of the off of the freezer paper.
Today's freezer paper is not near as good as the old freezer paper for that kind of stuff.
This is true. But my point being, like, even with all these modern conveniences, I was struggling to write with a pencil on fabric last night. And, they sandpaper, they would have maybe had access to sandpaper. That's another option for kind of stabilizing
But even
fabric.
still, writing on sandpaper is difficult
not
too.
Easy. And the thing is, I've never seen anything that looks to me like somebody wrote on with sandpaper underneath. So I'm kind of wondering if that was anybody even bothered to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, Laura said nothing is as good as the old versions, even tailor pins. Amen, girlfriend.
Yeah, seriously.
And speaking of, stuff Stephanie makes. This is, if you haven't seen this yet, which if you have, just deal with it. This is my little Duncan Sue that Stephanie made me last year. And I forget. Was this for a particular reason? Was it like my birthday or Christmas or something?
I think it was your birthday. I think it was definitely for a particular reason, but I can't remember which.
Yeah, it's just a small little wall hanging. It's normally on the other side of this, normally on this wall right here. But I had taken it down to show you guys. But it's backwards for you. But it says Duncan Sue on the back, and like, see, she puts text on stuff. And isn't that just like the cutest thing ever?
Thank you.
Share your coffee.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Laura says it's adorable. Thank you.
It is very adorable, but also like, let me just plug, like, we're not looking at it and stuff, but Stephanie is like the most talented like textile artist that I know. Thank you. So.
Thank you.
Don't cry.
That. Oh, I'm not gonna cry.
Don't cry.
Thank you. No. All right.
You're like, yes, right, I am.
Back to the book. And here's something I thought about with this Davis Dow block, the quilt.
Mm-hmm.
We can see these blocks are so heavily embellished, particularly these two. And it reminded me of something that my husband and I pass it frequently when we go to visit his dad. And I want to stop one day, and we just haven't had a chance because it's never been ideal. But there is something in Virginia. I want to say it's around Culpeper, Virginia. So if you're familiar, it's kind of the central western part of Virginia. Not like about an hour from Charlottesville or so. And it is called the Graffiti House. And for the longest time, I was just like, what in the heck is that? Because they have these signs, Graffiti House. Well, it turns out it is a Civil War era house that it housed troops during the Civil War. And while they were there, as young men will do, they basically carved graffiti all over the house. And the owners, like, I don't know if at some point some of it got covered up, and then they kind of restored it back to the graffiti version. But apparently it's full of all this graffiti of these soldiers, and you can just go visit it and read the graffiti. And I was like, that totally reminds me of this like super busy kind of stuff. Like people really wanted to like, you know, put their name out there, do these creative, like make marks basically. And I just see this as being kind of part of that theme of, you know, just getting this information out there in some way.
Yeah, totally. The quilt on 95 I find very interesting, because it's kind of backwards. Like the stars are red and the stripes are blue.
Yeah. The quilt is correct. I mean, the flag is correct, though.
I know. I just thought that. Now, this is a good time for me to show you guys something that I poked at.
Oh, Alicia, yes! I didn't know that there was a cavern with Civil War graffiti. And it makes sense. I mean, I bet there were lots of places that had stuff like that, and it just wasn't preserved. But yeah, we should do a Virginia road trip. There's lots of weird and interesting things in Virginia.
I haven't spent much time in Virginia except visiting a girlfriend outside Richmond, so. Yeah. Let me share my screen here. So I was just farting around, and I decided, you can see this, right, Steph? I decided to peruse the Maine State Museum website. Now, they're currently closed for maintenance and things like that, but their collections are searchable.
Yeah,
so
that's the quilt on page 111.
Yep, and that was the quilt. That was the page I was on when I decided to look. But let's see here. So because Lori was also awesome enough to put in call numbers.
Oh yeah, the accession numbers, you can find them.
And you know, it's great. Watch this. Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, they have the software that you can.
And then yeah, you can like look at that.
Okay, so you can actually see it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like worry about trying to take any photos out of here with my phone, because I mean, it may not be every quilt we want to look at, but we can look at a number of them, and this is good photography. Look, you can see stars are quilted in there.
Oh my gosh. And you know what, even though you can see the eagle in the book, I hadn't really paid attention to it. That's very cool.
I hadn't either.
Eagle.
Yeah, and I definitely did not. I don't know how you could tell in the book that there's stars quilted into there. So it's always there's a lot of Maine State Museum in here, like no doubt. It's like I think they show every single quilt they have, but there's a lot of other institutions in here. There's a lot of Maine historical. I saw another one that was, it's a bummer, there's a picture in the next chapter, the black and white photo of like the quilt sale. I was looking for that. It was like the Maine Maritime Museum, and I was really hoping to find that photo that I couldn't find it, at least not quickly. So it's always good to look up institutions and see if they've gotten around to doing this with at least some of their collection. It is a big undertaking. I know like not every quilt museum even has this available. So for something as big as like a state museum to have all this, like, it's here and we should use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know not every museum uses the same curatorial software as well. I mean, Alicia actually probably knows far more about this than us combined, but you do work in a museum, so I kind of leave it to you guys. But just trial and error, having looked at a number of things in museums, I some of them have like this where you can hover and see that detail. Others will just give you that image and that's all you get.
Small,
like you can't
small
open,
thumbnail.
make it big. So and I'm sure that has to do with like how the software is, how it works.
Yeah, and I mean what's interesting too is this is also a very complete catalog here, where they even have notes and stuff. So you can even copy the link from this image
Oh,
just
that's
right
nice.
here.
Yeah.
So one reason it even has related artists. Like that's I like to highlight things like this because I know sometimes it can be annoying when museums are doing their, annual call for money and things like that. But like in a lot of instances, like if you want this stuff to happen in museums, like this is the kind of stuff your money goes to.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
something to keep in your head, especially the next few years where funding is up in the air. Like,
Yeah.
um, this is so worth it. And once it's digital, we can make sure we preserve it forever. So
Laura just asked a great question. Why are the bottom corners that shape? Can you tell us, Joe?
So, Laura, in New England, it's a thing that you cut out certain quilts here do have these cutouts for four-poster beds. Because I don't know if you've ever considered a four-poster bed in like just the regular shape of a quilt. It looks weird, it gets all like bunched in the corner there. So it's typically a New England kind of style during this period of 1800ness and earlier to do a four-poster cutout. And they come in a variety of shapes too. There's
Yeah.
actually some others in here
I
where the
like the
shape is
ones where they
interesting.
do that slit and then have the round piece. Like that is so
Yeah.
specific to like a specific bed, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting to me because I'm like, did they not have this kind of furniture all over, you know? But it's really concentrated in New England, like the, New England states where they did this.
Mhm.
Not to say that I
Mhm.
haven't seen this in other states, but it seems like it was. And I mean, it took me a while to find out like why would they do, like, what's wrong with this quilt, why'd somebody cut these corners, like did a dog chew them, like what?
Mhm.
And then when I found out what it was, I was like, oh well, then why don't we see more fancy quilts like that? And I guess it was just kind of a regional thing. People started doing it and were like, oh, this is brilliant, everybody's going to do this, and it just did not trickle down as heavily from New England into other states.
Well, and it's funny, was it, I forget where we were. It was this book, I think, just earlier on, where it was that woman who made the quilt with the cutouts, decided she
Oh,
didn't like it, and then added the fabric back in. Wait, that was in here, right?
yeah, I
Oh,
think
can
it
we
was.
find it?
It
Like,
was in the beginning. Yeah, I
um,
want to say it was like, was it in the first chapter? I don't.
hold on, I might be able to find it real quick and we can
Yes, it's
pull it
this
up.
one. It's page
Um,
17. Quilt with replaced
Page
corners.
17.
And honestly,
17.
you can tell, like you could kind of tell when you know it, but I would say that it's not obvious at all, at least from the picture. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, maybe it's more obvious like when you see the quilt, but um, it has like these here in the corners. It's lighter, like the lighter colored of the light color is
No.
even lighter. So I
It
just thought
doesn't,
that,
hold
I
on, let
think
me
it's so funny. Um,
quilt with replaced corners. I didn't find it by the catalog. Quilt
oh, huh.
replaced corners. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect everything to be on here, but
Yeah. Well,
you
maybe
know,
this one just does not need it.
bummer. Bummer.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um, any particular one next that you're interested in looking at?
um, I'm just flipping through here. No, because the other quilts I think are not the Maine State Museum. The other ones are Belfast Historical Society, Mystic Seaport, Brick Store, Rockland. um, yeah. I don't
I
even.
also have Maine Historical on here as well, which the reason I was looking at, this is the Maine Historical Society and I had played with this one with...
While you're doing that, if I may, I skipped ahead to page 103. This was interesting, and this kind of, to me, goes along with that whole concept of graffiti and, like, frivolousness. Page 103, it talks about how some of the blocks include inscriptions that are comical. And I thought that was really interesting. And, you know, thinking, you know, you're making this quilt, you know, during the Civil War, and I'm trying to see, it was sent to the Armory Square Hospital, so it was about, you know, inspiring soldiers, and it was intended to be hung on a wall and not used on the bed. I just think it's interesting, and I guess their intention was to, I guess, cheer soldiers up. You know, I mean, you know, you've been injured or whatever, and you're in the hospital, and you know,
we definitely saw a couple of those in Pam Weeks's book.
Yeah, I just think that's interesting, you know, because I'm like, I know for some people it's really hard to have a sense of humor during like catastrophic times.
Just any old day, let alone bad times.
Yeah, and I mean, not to like pick apart recent situations, but I think about people that, you know, were very doom and gloom during COVID. And I feel like the people that sort of fared better were the ones who kept a sense of humor about it, you know, and sort of engaged in the jokes and the memes and all the stuff to kind of, you know, because otherwise you're sitting there looking at illness and death statistics and like, ugh. So, I mean, I think there definitely is something to be said for humor. Yeah.
I mean, aside from you saying there's something to be said, there's plenty of scientific research to back all that up, for sure. And it's funny that you started on 103 because on the next page is this quilt, which is the Portland flag quilt. And it said there's a detail photo which isn't on here, but it's on page 104. And it said, and it's funny, you can't even tell on this photo, barely, like these right here have writing on them. So this is another one of those things you said, different softwares. See, I can't do anything to this photo. This is as big as it gets.
Yeah.
So it says on here, individuals penned their own messages on the quilt, some on the white stripes, but many on the red stripes as well. Mrs. Stevenson's patch was attached to the quilt before it was quilted. These two, however, were added after the quilting was complete. B.L. Fox's verse anticipates the Emancipation Proclamation. Quote, now that Abraham's written it, a fine man he, an escaped slave, will be. Will make it constitutional in 1863. Abraham Lincoln wrote a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation in September of 1862. It is likely that the flag quilt had not yet been sent away and that B.L. Fox refers to that document. That's so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mind just explodes all the time.
You know what? It's interesting. I think about, like, we think about how connected we are with news today, and, you know, I mean, we know about something that has happened, you know, on the other side of the world, like minutes after it happens, you know, because either the media is tapped into it and they have correspondence and they're, you know, immediately getting the info out, or you've got social media, people, you know, are posting in social media, and it again is, you know, viral. But for people like, you know, your everyday average people to be so plugged in, you know, to what is happening. And I mean, so if Lincoln had, you know, a draft of the Emancipation Proclamation and that the citizen knows about that, like, I can't even begin to tell you what kind of legislation has been drafted and is up unless there's some big kerfuffle about it. You know, a lot of times it's so hard to keep up with that kind of stuff. And, you know, I mean, that's the double-edged sword of our current life. But it seems to me like, I guess I just always think of people in the past as being very slow to get information. And, you know, I mean, the fact that Juneteenth is celebrated kind of as sort of this loosey-goosey date is because the you know, the freedom of the enslaved was not something that happened in one day. It took a while for people to find out, like, that it had been passed. So, it's surprising, I guess, is the point I'm making here, that somebody was kind of tapped into this, somehow knew he had drafted it. I mean, maybe it was a big newspaper story, who knows? I'm sure that could be researched and figured out, but it's interesting to me to know that was on this quilt. Quilts are documents, y'all.
Yeah. Laura says, I live in Old England, and I've never seen this before. I'm sure she's talking back when we were looking at the cutouts, the quilt cutouts. And then she said, it's a very British thing to make light from a bad situation.
Yeah.
Where in England, Laura?
Yeah.
Like, Stephanie's going to be over there. Stephanie's going to be over there at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you should go say hi to her at
Festival
of Quilts.
Yeah, go to Festival of Quilts.
I really want to see this charm quilt on 107. So let's see if Maine State... No. Okay, so wait, sorry. I don't need both. Here we go. Let's see if Maine State Museum has it online.
Up north. Yeah. I'm not going to be going too far north. So maybe next time. Unless you're able to come south. Oh, look, they have
Laura, I'll come over
around.
and come over. Yeah, I saw that. I wonder if they turned it the way that it is in the book just for printing purposes.
Yeah, I don't know.
That quilt is cool.
The dimensions are given as 99 by 81. So, yeah, this one I thought was really interesting in that, this is a true charm quilt, and she got that very cool, that those color variations and that, the visual impact is almost like the colors kind of radiating out of that center. And I think it's mentioned here. Let's see. Suggests that she may have had even more fabrics at her disposal during its construction. So yeah, like if you have this limited amount, you may not be able to pull this off. If you have a lot more to select from, you have the ability to do this kind of stuff.
Look at this conversation print.
I know. I love those those little conversation and shirting prints. Oh, the little horseshoes. I think I have some reproduction fabric that's kind of like those little horseshoe with the crop, the riding crop.
Yeah, this thing's and this one even has a picture here of the back.
Oh, cool. Oh, interesting.
But yeah, this thing's phenomenal.
Yeah, I love this. I would have this on my bed in a heartbeat. AQSG did those quilt side chats, which was about like, what quilt would you steal, if you could from a museum. There's a few, and this is on the list. I would totally make off with this. It would be on my bed, and I would be like, look at my cool quilt. Because I love a scrappy quilt. And the idea of a charm quilt is so cool.
Let's see if they have this tiny postage stamp quilt on here on page 107.
The triangle one. Yeah, Laura, I love all quilts, but there's just something about scrappy quilts, just.
Well, and postage stamp quilts are just
slightly insane. Yes. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah. This thing is bananas with its 11,448 pieces.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so at a quilt study I was at recently, the theme was tiny, or small. So doll quilts, baby quilts, or tiny prints, or tiny pieces, and a lot of people brought tiny pieces. And there's one woman that that's kind of her jam. Her name is Taryn Faulkner, and you can find her on Instagram. I can't remember what her Instagram is, but she does, if you're into this kind of stuff and you want to do tiny piecing, she does like a quilt along every year. I guess it's like summer-ish, late summer-ish.
Mm-hmm.
She'll do these quilt alongs, and I think she's doing something with a basket next, because she brought a quilt that had these itty bitty basket blocks. But she has a lot of stuff like this because she's fascinated with itty bitty little piecing on a large scale. And to see some of these quilts up close, it just boggles the mind, because like I could probably, I have done like what I would call a charm quilt that was about this big. I mean, a tiny doll quilt sized, using like, they were probably half-inch. Yeah, they were half-inch hexes. So English paper pieced, but it took me forever. And I was fussy cutting. I was specifically looking for little tiny things, little prints and things. But nonetheless, it just took me so long just to deal with those tiny pieces, and to get to something that big. I just, like, my brain does not compute these very large quilts made of very tiny pieces.
Well, and look at this pieced one here with this little blue tiny triangle on the corner. Like, can you imagine, like, there's just quite a few of these that are like, like, not only, like, God, I just, this tiny little seam. And people talk about the fact that I make tiny stuff. Like, I'd be like, hold my beer. Yeah, this thing's just banana. Although I have to say, these two right here upset me. You couldn't have put these two somewhere else that weren't right next to each other. God.
Yeah, and I think so. Not just right, Laura, squaring up all those half square triangles. That's kind of the point I was going to make. Is well, I mean, they honestly didn't do a whole lot of squaring up.
Yeah, no,
they wouldn't have wasted their time.
They definitely didn't have their. Imagine if they had block rulers back then.
Yeah, but that's the challenge, is because they didn't. I mean, they certainly ironed stuff, but they didn't have they did not have olisos. They had sad irons, which, even though the name sad is not about the emotion sad, it would make me very sad to have a sad iron, because you got to put that damn thing in the fireplace. And then you got to have like a pot holder to pick it up and iron. So, like, yeah, they just did not have all of the modern conveniences we do to make sure that things are squared up and iron pressed and neat and the corners match and all that stuff, but yet they still got those results. And that always just like, blah.
Well, and I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you do far more hand work than I do, but I feel like if you're doing handwork, things are a lot more forgiving, and you can ease things better.
Yeah, they definitely are. Handwork is very forgiving. And you can, small pieces you can finger press. Again, you don't have to iron as much. And they. Are
you kidding? I finger press machine pieces.
That might be why not one of my points ever match. But yeah, I just. And where I was actually going is the bulk of the fabric. When you have so many seams in a tiny space, even if they're not necessarily like all converging like some kind of star, there's bulk there, and it's challenging to deal with. So yeah.
This quilt on 108 was just the sweetest thing.
Yes. I had this one flagged because, again, I feel like we beat this horse dead all the time, of like, children in the 19th century and before, they were born with needles in their hands. Because a 10-year-old girl did this. And I think of myself at 10 years old, and I think I was very creative. I made things. Not like this. I would not have had the first idea how to draft something like this. And looking at it, I mean, just in the book, the points all look really good. It looks, I mean, it's not messy. It's well designed. It's, and it's got all this really detailed embroidery. Like, what?
Got a lot of like color balance.
A 10-year-old did this? What? Yeah, it just boggles my mind. And, you often think, like, perhaps it's attributed to her, but maybe her mother helped, or an older sister, an aunt, a grandmother. But nonetheless, I can guarantee you that even with tons of help from my grandmother, from my mom, I could not have produced something like this when I was 20, much less 10 years old, you know? I would struggle to make something like that now. Yeah, it's really precious.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wondered about these. Are these commercially available, like redwork designs, or are these things that she drew or somebody drew for her? I kind of wondered about that.
Oh, look, like, she originally drew a house on this block and then decided to do something else.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I mean, that's the question. Were these freehand drawings? Like, you know, maybe somebody drew these for her or helped her, or she traced them from somewhere. I mean, they didn't have iPads back then. Nope.
I wonder if this is supposed to be her.
Yeah.
She doesn't look very happy.
Yeah, that's
so she's not very happy because she's 10 and doing this and faces are hard. Her hand looks kind of deformed from doing all the sewing.
Yes, she has she's sad because she has spent her childhood making this quilt.
All of the prints in here, these small flower prints are so adorable.
I know. This quilt is fantastic. This is another one that I would certainly, you know, sneak out of the museum with if I could.
Oh, there's her name.
Etta Hall. Yeah.
And then there's a little prayer.
Yeah. I remember saying that every night when I was a kid. Yeah, 1896 with that flourish. Fancy.
Mm-hmm. Is there something you wanted to look at? I mean, 5.6 on the next page has your favorite cutouts.
I know, Delectable Mountains. No, it's not my favorite. It's Dr. Dunton's favorite.
Oh, well, why don't we show Laura here a different cutout?
Oh, yes. So 5.6, if that one is available. It's 80.96.3.
I'm well ahead of you, girlfriend.
Yeah. This one's fun because this is like what I was talking about, how literally it's cut specific for a specific type, you know. That's some kind of bed that has a very slender poster. And
the other ones I find interesting too are the ones where the cutouts aren't necessarily square. They're like slits instead. Mm-hmm. I think there is a quilt later on that shows that maybe.
Yeah, this one is definitely a really interesting design. Yeah. And
it would have looked very cool the way it fell on the bed.
Mm-hmm. Delectable Mountains is an interesting pattern. I mean, because again, all it is half square triangles, but the way it's arranged, and the direction that you put the half squares in, and they're almost always 2-color quilts. Yeah, they're just really interesting, and I'm just curious to know, how did this quilt get the name Delectable Mountains? I guess just because they look like mountain peaks, but the name comes from the Pilgrim's Progress, which
I did not know this story. Do you want to read that paragraph?
Yeah. So let's see.
It's the second paragraph on 110.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's kind of all over the place, but it says, some of the many new patterns that developed in the late 1800s were a symbol of one's faith. The Pilgrim's Progress from this world to that which is to come. I always love those long, weird titles. A Christian allegorical novel written by John Bunyan was published in 1678. It remained popular well into the 1800s, as evidenced by its presence in Little Women, wherein the March girls recall reading and reenacting scenes from the book. Pilgrim's Progress also inspired a quilt pattern called Delectable Mountains. This was a land described in Pilgrim's Progress with a pleasant prospect on every side, but full of dangers, the 8th stage in the protagonist's pilgrimage toward the celestial city. And, you know, this obviously is a point in time where I admit I never read Little Women. So that was never like on my radar. And yeah, it was only like a year or two ago that I learned what this, Delectable Mountains came from, because Dr. Dutton had examined Delectable Mountains quilts and had written about them.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this crazy idea that tons and tons of other quilt designs started with Delectable Mountains. And I'm like, Dutton, I don't know what you're talking about. This is insane. But it was interesting.
The quilt on the next page is probably my favorite of this block of quilts, because we like them weird around here. And this one's definitely weird. Come on, God, my internet is slow today.
Oh no. Alicia is threatening the dissolution of our friendship because I have not read Little Women. And Laura says, it's a good book. Yes, I know it's a good book. I actually have all four of the March sisters as doll kits. There's the
because of course you do.
The Shackman doll kits, but I have never read the book. And I know, so many of those books, I know I should have read them. Like, I have tons of, Jane Eyre and all that, or Jane Eyre, all that kind of stuff. And I've just never read it. I was a bad student.
Have you read Pride and Prejudice?
Of course not. I do have it on my shelf, but anything that
So you're a fake and a phony.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I mean, all of those books were, highly recommended, but I just wanted to read different stuff when I was a kid. I was reading, like, beat poets and that kind of stuff.
But I mean, a lot of those books are required reading in school.
Oh, exactly. I only read the ones I absolutely had to.
Oh.
And even those, I kind of skimmed them. I may or may not.
Oh, Laura, you could 100% get it as an audiobook now. And actually, because of that, Stephanie has no excuse, because she is an avid audiobook listener.
You could probably get it for free. Like, a lot of classic books you can get for free on audio. All right, you guys, I'll go get Little Women, for crying out loud.
Well, I was just going to say, like, Alicia, should we do one of those things that I see people do now? Like, instead of, like, going away and, like, having, like, quote, like renting an Airbnb and having, like, a quilt retreat, they have, like girlfriend book retreats where they just go and they all up in a house and read.
Mm-hmm. And you just put me in a closet and make me listen to Little Women. You're not coming out. You can't read another book until you finish that one. So Janet's asking, so this is talking about the Appalachian Mountains, Appalachian. Do you mean Delectable Mountains? Because, yeah, no, the Delectable Mountain, I guess, is like an allegorical, like it's a.
Yeah, it said like, the name of the block expressed the hope, the hope of salvation held by most Americans. For some, it may have also expressed the hope of happiness in a new homeland for themselves or for friends and family who had moved away from Maine.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, too, there's a lot of mountains in upstate New England.
Well,
there's the White Mountains and stuff. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of mountains in Maine, like Mount Washington, like, there's lots of mountains.
The East Coast generally has a lot of mountains in its back door. There's a lot of junk.
Yeah, we just like
East Coast
we make them a lot. There are areas in New England that make a lot, like, they make smaller mountains. Like, there is a quote mountain not far over here, and it's a ski resort called Neshoba. Those of us that live in the area call it a hill, because it is not a large mountain. But like, if you go out into like Western Massachusetts, you get some mountains, but we don't make them over here like they do, like the Blue Ridge Mountains and stuff like that, unless you get up into, Mount Washington and all that jazz.
Yeah, so
the White Mountains were pretty cool. I was up there recently.
I believe that the ski resort in Virginia, known as Massanutten, was often known as Mass of Nothing when I was in school. I guess it was one of the nearer Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, that was not as tall as the others, I guess. So 112. This one is not
Wait a minute.
a museum. Oh, so
you
we
can't.
have to talk
Don't
about
you
this?
skip past my weird quilt?
Sorry. I forgot we hadn't talked about
Rude.
this. So
yeah,
this one,
like the.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, this one was cool because when I was first looking at it, I couldn't really gather, obviously until I was reading that, like, using leaves to trace and make your blocks. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Although I feel like this is upside down. It's all the birds.
Yeah. Well, I think this could.
Odd.
Well. Yeah, I was gonna say I guess I kind of looked at it and thought it was one of those things where the birds are kind of opposing. So one of them's gonna be upside down no matter what you do.
Okay. Like what is this blue piece here? Like, what did we use for that? Or like this blue piece here?
Yeah, I think
Like,
those are. Yeah, I think those are just kind of like the leftover shapes or something.
But like we like we like a weird quilt over here.
Yeah.
This one is definitely cool and weird. I would steal this one.
Yeah, this one was cool. And, I suspect that there probably a lot of people did this. Maybe not choosing leaves that were as, detailed as these, but, maybe simpler leaves and tracing them to make patterns. I could see people doing that frequently. This one I think was really, the leaves that have a lot of, like, crenellations and stuff in their, I don't know, I'm not a botanist. I don't know what the parts of leaves are, but like those maple leaves. I mean, those are very intricate in terms of little points and things. That, even though it looks like they use that little buttonhole stitch to applique. She, said Ann Cotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still is, that's some really good needlework. Like that's not basic. that does take some skill. So yeah, I thought this one was cool too. Although I have to say, and you guys can make fun of me, but
Yay!
Janet says this was an outlier quilt. Yeah, definitely. If you flip between page 111 and 112, you can see the two different versions of the quilt. What's on page 112 is a digital restoration. So they've made the green greener, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look that different to me. I mean, I could certainly see that it's definitely greener. It's a darker green, but I'll be honest.
Obviously that green was fugitive, so they just put the green back in.
It faded or something. And yeah, it's not that dark though, so it didn't.
I mean, this was my stuff's in the way. This was 1868, so we're definitely dealing with fugitive green dye.
Yeah, and I'm just holding it up like this is the.
Let me see if the
digitally restored.
Well, let me see if I can find the digital, because there is a number for it.
The digitally.
7.7.1.
It's just the same catalog number.
Is it really the same?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just it's just the picture. I think the picture that's here in the book has just been digitally corrected. I don't know that this exists anywhere else. I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool to show it, but I was kind of like, I don't see that it's not that big of a difference. Greens were very subtle.
And also, like, the fact that this quilt comes from Alexander, Maine.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Absolutely no relation whatsoever.
And Laura mentioned, I mean, you can, perhaps figure out some, geographic location from this quilt because of the flora, the fauna.
Yeah.
The flora. Fauna is animals. Yeah. So, these leaves would put it, in a specific geographic area.
Now, I will say, I had tried. Remember, I told you there was a photograph I was trying to find that I could not pull up on 113. This black and white here of women selling quilts.
Yeah, I love this picture. I thought this was such a cool picture.
I will say that the Maine Maritime Museum does have searchable collections, and but I couldn't find this photo under their catalog number or something like that. But I didn't try really, really hard. I just tried quickly. So it could be worth
Hmm.
trying to go through. But yeah, I was like, man, that would have been really cool if I could have found that photo and we could have looked at it big. Because I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I'm assuming you're probably the same. But old photos, like black and white photos or stereographs or like all kinds of, if they have quilts in them, I don't know why they're like 300 times more interesting to
Of
me.
course. Yeah. Absolutely. And I had my face pressed against this one as I was reading just to get like what detail I could. That woman that's standing, and we already. So this woman that's standing here on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
The other women are not really looking at the camera. They're not looking at the camera. They're doing stuff. In fact, there's a couple of like sort of blurs where people obviously moved while the camera was getting its exposure. That woman standing on the corner, she was like, "Yeah, I know you're taking a picture of us. I'm gonna stand and pose." It's like
You
one
know,
of those.
it's also like things like this that make me go, why, why, why have I not bought magnifying glasses yet?
Oh, you mean like
Specifically for things like this.
those kind that telescope off your face, or just like a?
No, like an actual, just a magnifying glass,
Oh no.
like to help me look at a photo like this in a
Mm-hmm.
book. Because how many times have you and I both complained, like, man, I wish I could see this better?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I need to like remember when we're done here that I need to order a magnifying glass.
Because you did skip over
Um,
what I wanted to mention on page 112, the
mhm,
applique antlers quilt I thought was very interesting. Um,
mhm,
and these paper cut quilts, uh, you often you'll see some pretty intricate paper cut quilts. I think New York, you could see them in New York, and definitely in Pennsylvania, where the Pennsylvania German craft of paper cutting was popular.
mhm.
And at first glance, you look at this and you're like, Hawaiian quilt. And so often paper cut quilts are mistaken for Hawaiian quilts. But yeah, I thought this one was so interesting. And it does say, I think, kind of wondering, did she perhaps hear about or see a Hawaiian quilt? And I do know that, I think it would have coincided with these dates, or would have been before these dates, definitely, when all the people went to Hawaii. The Mormon missionaries went to Hawaii and taught the ladies how to quilt, and there's all this information.
Mhm.
And I think it was like that exoticness of information that kind of came out, and it's like, oh, they're so different from us. And of course there's the not very kindness of the time period of like, well, they're not as sophisticated as us, so let's show them how to be real ladies and all that jazz. But
Mhm.
I bet you anything that this maybe was in some way inspired by Hawaiian quilts, because it is so very Hawaiian looking to me. But I don't know that I would have immediately thought of those as moose antlers, even though that's definitely what they look like after they've said it.
To me,
Um,
it looks like pine cones and
yes,
holly.
exactly. It looks like holly along the sides to me, and then in the middle it looks like a pine cone, and then those look like pine boughs. I think that's what it is. I think it's holly and pine boughs.
Mhm.
And then the boot scrapers. They're saying that those little things the birds are standing on is the exact design of a boot scraper.
Mhm.
So anyway, I just thought that was really cool. And again, you wonder about these things, like, because there's so many like crafts and design fundamentals and stuff that sort of spring up all over the world independently of each other. It wasn't like somebody wasn't inspired by something. They never saw it. They didn't know about it. It just sprung
Yeah.
up. So you kind of wondered, is this paper cutting? Maybe this person in Maine had some contact in New York or Pennsylvania where paper cutting was common in quilts, and maybe one of those people saw a Hawaiian quilt. I mean, you just kind of like, you could make up all kinds of crazy stories about it, but you just kind of wonder, like, what,
What was this section of events?
yeah, what led to that? Quilting aliens, yes.
Quilting aliens.
Just like ancient aliens.
Just
that's
like the pyramids.
Yeah, we're gonna have the quilting aliens.
And
our first episode is gonna be about Hawaiian quilt or paper cut.
and my hair is gonna soon look like that guy on Ancient Aliens with that like fucking hair.
I have
but
to say,
I will also point out that I'm pretty darn sure that we might be able to see this quilt while we're in Portland. Just saying.
Gotcha.
And Laura, I don't know how long you've been around, if you've been lurking or stuff, or I'm not exactly like how did you hear about us exactly? Because if you haven't heard us talk about it yet, I know you're in England, but if we could tempt you over to this burning metropolis of the US, there is a big convention that's going to happen in Portland, Maine this year in October by American Quilt Study Group. And someone like yourself should definitely consider coming to it, because there is lots of quilt nerdiness that happens there. And Stephanie and I will be there. And we're fun. Sometimes. Some of these people can...
Yeah, some of our friends here can vouch for the fact that we are just as fun in person as we are insane online. So we're getting late here, but so the fan quilts I thought were interesting as kind of like sister quilts, and these are the ones on page 114 and 115. But what? Oh, so Laura's friend on Twitch told her about us. Awesome. Well, I do a stream on Twitch, by the way. So
I was gonna say, is your friend on Twitch Stephanie? Like,
so
make sure to put your Twitch in the chat.
I will. So this I thought was so interesting. You see, I put my highlighter tape on it.
I was gonna say mine doesn't have that. What's wrong with your book?
This is my highlighter tape. I thought this was so interesting because I looked at the pictures in this section before I was reading. You know, I flipped through and read the captions, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So the Biddeford quilt, so that's the earlier one, right?
Let me see if I can find that. Let me see if I can get that one on
so
the site.
Yeah, and so this was a and they're not super. Oh, you're switching the Sparky Pugwash. I love that. That's so cute. So
nope, that one's not in here.
Yeah, so they don't really know, but the research has essentially, what they think it is either a person, I guess, because it's written in Cantonese. So the person is either a Cantonese person named this, or it is somebody from the Chinese community that owned a laundry, and this is the name of the laundry. Although I'm looking at this, and so the characters, let's see, where is it? The characters say, crud, where did I lose it? So transliterated, the inscription on the quilt reads, Hop Sing Guan, the last word of which translates to place. The first symbol pronounced hop means gathering, and sing means victory. So I'm like, gathering, victory, place, like, perhaps that's simply a sentiment. You know, because, I mean, these are fundraising. These are for the Relief Corps. This is the Grand Army of the Republic. Do you not think that perhaps a victory gathering place might be what they were trying to get at? I don't know. But it looks like the research that was done, and I don't know if this was Lori's research or if this was somebody else's, but the research that was done could not exactly pinpoint who, because there was not, there was some Cantonese people whose last name was Horp, which I suspect was probably also messed up. That was probably not their real name, but so they could never find a person or a laundry that specifically worked out for what these characters meant. But I don't know why. I'm just like, this is the sentiment, not the name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my take on it. But I mean, like, what do I know? But I just thought that was really interesting, and I had no idea that Maine. And I didn't point it out, but here earlier in the chapter, I think it was this chapter. It might have actually been no, it was this chapter. Very beginning, it said by 1850. So 1790, 78% of Mainers were of English descent, and basically the rest were Scottish, Irish, or Scots-Irish. And then by 1850, 95% of Mainers had been born within its boundaries. So 95% of people in 1850 were native Mainers, like they had been born there. So I thought that was fascinating. Like, wow, you know, because I don't know. I just look at the 1700s and early 1800s as being like this great immigration time, but it's a lot of immigration from the UK and, you know, a little bit here and there of you know, European countries. And it just surprised me that, like, that for that, you know, that jump. And then when we're here in the section talking about the quilt with the name, you know, with the Hop Sing on it, that there is a whole bunch of different nationalities that ended up in Maine. Crud, I lost my place again. So let's see, they said French Canadians and Acadians, which made sense because it's so close to Canada. Germans, Italians, Finns, Armenians, and Lebanese came to work in the quarries and the mills. So I was like, that's interesting. Like, that's kind of a different group of immigrants than you see in other states. So I just thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
I want to say the last thing I want to look at before we close up here. Hopefully it's here. Please, please, please. Please. Yay!
Oh, this one, yes. I had, I just put my Twitch handle in there.
Can you also stick AQSG in there too, please?
I sure can. Oh, whoops. Why is that not going to?
Yeah, this quilt was just phenomenal. Like, oh God. And like 1872.
Yeah.
It's 92 and a quarter by 92 and a quarter, attributed to Evelyn Greenwood Cushman. Star and Swag Squad. It says Evelyn Greenwood Cushman was an accomplished seamstress. Getting so many diamond seams to lie flat is a difficult feat. At the last minute, however, she evidently decided that the outside row was too pale and added another. It complicated her applique work, which she'd mostly finished by that point. Some diamonds cover bits of the applique flowers and leaves. The tip of some diamonds have been cut, and others turned slightly to accommodate leaves and flowers. Evelyn Greenwood was born in Green, Maine in 1853. She married Sylvanus Cushman of Lisbon in 1872, and the couple lived and raised their children on the Lisbon farm. By 1880, the census notes that Evelyn had a disability, an injured right ankle. It may be that decreased mobility caused by this handicap gave Evelyn more time for handwork, such as this intricate quilt. So this is implying to me that this big honkin' star piece is appliqued on. Yes? Like, if they're talking about how it's going over other applique, like, it can't be pieced in.
Well, the way I read it is that she created the quilt and then decided that she needed one more row. So I think it's the blue is appliqued, but the rest of the quilt was pieced. And then, I mean, it may be appliqued on top of a backing. It could be appliqued on top of a backing fabric, yes. But I do think that the star itself was pieced, and then it's this last blue round that was maybe added.
That is what was unclear to me.
Yeah. And yeah, to me it was like, wow, this is weird too, you know, like such a beautiful quilt. And I mean, I can tell you these are not easy to make. I have tried my hand at this, and it is challenging. This is another one of those, like, the weird angles of the way that these, you know, those pieces, those diamond pieces go together. If they're not facing the right way, you messed it up. And getting the points, and I mean, you can see her points don't come close to matching sometimes, but matching the points is challenging. And the other thing about these quilts that's kind of, you know, I mean, you've got a lot of bias edges going on, but you've got a lot of, like, seam allowance on the back. It's, you know, it's just, there's a lot. And, you know, whenever you have points coming together, you've got extra seam allowance, and it's hard to get these to lay flat. They're, you know, they're works of art when they're done well. So the fact that she has this, like, stunning quilt, and then she adds that blue ring, and it does weird things like cover up some of the applique. I mean, I look at this as, this has happened to me. I have made something that I have found, like, I'm so proud of, and I'm like, this is the pinnacle. And then I look at it and I go, well, crap. And I bet you anything that's what happened. She was like, that grayish color and that white on the outside, it just doesn't work very well. You know, I need it to, you know, really stand out, and I don't like this, and so I'm going to do this thing. And it's just like one of those decisions people make. The other thing is, I mean, it's entirely possible that that wasn't her doing, that somebody added that stuff. You know, another person added that. Who knows?
I also really love this green print on this
I know.
swag.
Isn't it gorgeous? That
I don't think
print
I've
is
ever
so
seen
lovely.
this fabric before.
Mm-hmm.
I've
And
seen
it's
this
like
red
really,
before.
Yeah, that green though is like that really bright, like almost an acidy green. Yeah, they could get such amazing colors out of some of those chemical.
Yeah,
You know.
this green has definitely got to be on my wish list now for fabric collection.
Yeah.
Never seen it. I definitely have seen this. You can tell on the bits of the flower here, there's black dye drop that's come out. But yeah, man, that green. And she was like, you know what? This swag border is extra, but how can I make it more extra? Let's add this extra border here.
So Laura's asking, are any of the dyes used toxic? So you probably are thinking of Sheil's green, or was it Sheeler's green? I can't remember if it's Sheil or Sheeler. That green dye was most often, and this is based on my reading, most often was on home furnishings and garments, like clothing. So it was dresses, wallpaper, paint, things like that. And that's where you got all the people, like, dying, literally dying from the dye. Another one was a purple dye, I think, that was incredibly dangerously toxic. But I don't
The green one, are you talking about the arsenic dye?
Yeah, that's Sheil's or Sheeler's green.
I was gonna say, there's also a number of books that are covered in fabric with that dye.
Yeah. But I don't know that we see that coming up in quilts as much. I don't know that I have ever heard of a poison green quilt. And I don't know if it's just because...
but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, like it didn't happen, but I'm wondering if Sheil's green... And I actually have a book about it. I should pull it out, and I will do that. I will pull it out and look and see. But I suspect Sheil's green didn't work with cotton, is what I'm thinking. And I could be wrong about that. I could be totally wrong about that. But I suspect, because what they show are the dresses that were a problem were those like really beautiful, like crusty silk, you know, like satiny, velvety, like jacquard
crusty
kind of
silk.
stuff. Just the stuff that's like super overwrought and like, you know, and you don't see that kind of stuff in quilts necessarily. So I'm wondering if it was an incompatibility with cotton. And some of the other toxic dyes or colors were more used in paint than they were in fabric dye. But yeah, Sheil's green was definitely, one that, gosh, who is it? It was somebody very famous in the U.S. That's like what she died from. And I can't remember who it is now.
Laura just said a nice crusty dress.
Yeah, a nice crusty dress. That's exactly what you want. But yeah, it was. I'm trying to think. It's somebody that I talked to was saying like, yeah, she was a socialite,
A crusty
somebody.
lady.
I don't know. It was somebody who was a socialite or something, or she was somebody of importance in the U.S. historically, and it was the flakes coming off of the paint on her ceiling. Her ceiling was painted like I think it was those tin tiles on her ceiling, and it was painted with Scheele's green or Sheeler's green, and it flaked off like in her dining room. So she and all of her, guests were chowing down on some toxic paint.
Yum.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty.
Well, that was a great uplifting note to end on.
How do we always end on something like, and then they died? Oh my gosh. What I talked about on my stream yesterday, it was not at the end, but there towards the end was the story. I was reading a paper that, kind of a scholarly paper about this woman that I had just discovered, and it talked about how her first child was killed as an infant, or I think he was 2, when he was mauled by a wolf. I'm like, it's not funny, and it's not funny at all, it's horrible, but I'm like, what an absurd thing. I mean, you hear about a tragedy, and you're like, well, it was a wolf mauling, so...
Well, we can definitely reminisce about all the misfortunes that befell Miss Tallulah Bottoms and her family.
God, poor Tallulah, good Lord.
Yeah, and the things that happened to those kids.
Yeah. And Nancy Liu, I wish we could have met her. Unfortunately, she passed away. I don't know, sometime in the past number of years. I wish we could have met her to just talk to her about her grandmother. Tallulah was Tallulah Bottoms. What a lady.
Yeah, and that's another one that you guys can go back and watch the replays for, because that book was fantastic, but it was depressing.
Yeah, that was like one thing after
really
another.
Great
like,
research.
Could Tallulah ever get a damn break? No, she couldn't.
Right?
Yeah,
that woman had it rough. But if you came in late, for next week, for the 22nd, we're reading 6 and 7, pages 132 to 173. And we're over halfway now. We're on the downswing.
And then we will, just to let everybody know, we will have a break where we're going to have some pre-recorded content. So we'll have like 2 weeks with no Maine Quilts. So after next week, you will have all the time in the world to finish the book.
To catch up.
To catch up and to finish the book. And then we will discuss the last chapter when I'm back. And then we have our interview with Lori. So... And she's so much fun. You guys will absolutely love her.
And then by then we will have definitely decided what our next book is, while we have our kind of free time between finishing a book and starting a new one. And then we'll start our last book for the season, the year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. Don't wish the year away yet. Don't wish the year away yet.
It's just really crazy. And also, guys, I know we're often don't mention it, but if you could do us a favor, if you could always make sure when you're watching our content to give that thumbs up on it. Even if you leave a comment, it doesn't have to be super fancy or anything. It just helps to bump us in the algorithm. And we'd really appreciate it if you did that.
Yeah.
Because we love you.
Tell people about us. And we're so excited that, we have done our, what do you call that? The marketing polling. So we now know where Laura came from. So we know somebody's talking about us. Yeah.
And I think that's going to do it for tonight. I'm going to go take a shower because it's hot.
Yeah, I'm frequently sweating through showers, so.
And on that sweaty note, have a good night, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.